Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Find Your Why Foundation Wise Words of the Day. God, I look like I've been trying to edge backwards, sorry. Where every day myself and the lovely
Marion Bevington
answer some questions that have been, well, one question per day actually, that has been raised by either and or the wise women from the Live, Love, Laugh Lounge, or the wise men from the lovely man cave. So who have we got joining us already? Oh, we're straight in. So Elizabeth Goddard. Hello, Elizabeth. How are you? Now Elizabeth, I don't know if I know you. Tell me a little bit about you. I like to know about people. So put a little bit in the chat box about you. Do you know Elizabeth?
I do.
Oh, she knows you.
I do. She's I think we met at one of Andy's events, I'm sure. She's a tapper. She's a tapper. Tippy tapper.
We've got the and I have you on the call as well. And so the question of today, the why question of the day is, why do I feel stuck? Why do I feel stuck? So, Marion, what's your thoughts on why do I feel stuck?
Well, when I think about feeling stuck, the first thing that comes to mind for me is actually it's an unresolved trauma that has been activated. Because one of the things that I know about trauma is that the freeze response, which is basically what the body does naturally, if the fight or the flight doesn't work and survival is threatened, then the next step is to drop into freeze. And so in fight and flight, you're a bit stuck because your brain's not working well, your intelligence isn't working well, because you need to leg it or knock somebody's lights out. You don't really need your brain engaged to do that. You need all your muscle power and all your body energies available for the body to move and be strong. So you don't need your mind to do that, or the cleverness of the conscious mind. And then if you drop into freeze, you absolutely lose access to this conscious brilliance that we've got. And in order for you not to be stuck, I don't know, but do you agree that you have to feel in flow? You have to feel like you've got options. You have to feel like just that things are moving and they're not moving towards something really, really scary. And so in order for us to do that, we have to be able to imagine the future that's safe and feel that. And we have to be able to forecast, plan, be very creative with our thinking, and all of that needs lots of blood and access to the prefrontal cortex. And if you're in fight or flight or freeze, then you do have a prefrontal lobotomy, so you've got no access to your brilliance. And so I think that at that high level, that's basically what being stuck is all about.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I think from when you were just saying, about having to imagine what there is moving forward, it just reminded me of yes. There's loads of levels of stuckness, I suppose, isn't there? Yeah. And there's a kind of I'm feeling stuck when I want to do something, but I'm making 14 cups of tea, cleaning the cooker, all this sort of procrastination, distraction stuff, and that's still being stuck, even though you're in action doing something else. And then I guess that as the extreme, there's those places where you feel really stuck, not able to move, where the fight, flight, and the freeze, as you call it, comes in as well. But yesterday was a really good example. So I went to the lovely event in North Notts, Ladies Business Conference, actually. Really lovely ladies there, and one gentleman, Philip. I'm going to say hello to Philip, because he was there being really open to all the ladies. And the ladies were great. They're all in the businesses. They're doing, very nice in the business. They're networking. But there was just 3 ladies that actually joined the Live, Love, Laugh Lounge. And they'd never done Facebook Live. And it was interesting because this is a bit of a reoccurring theme, isn't it? Maybe we'll do a question on why can I not do Facebook Live, actually. So I'll not say too much about how we got over this. But basically, they ended up doing Facebook Live. And afterwards, they were like, and panicking and, whatever sort of came up, I never thought I'd ever be able to do that. And even this morning, I got a lovely little email from one of the ladies saying, you know, I kept thinking about what I should have said and what I could have said and all the rest of it. But that's a form of stuckness, isn't it? Like just not going out and doing something.
Yeah.
It was really lovely. You know, they come to join us now because they come to join us in the lounge because, you know, I said, look, this is what we're about, you know, in the lounge. It's all about getting people that are feeling a little bit discombobulated, because we like that word.
We do, we love that word.
Getting them out of this stuckness or out of this feeling of frustration or overwhelm or whatever that is. But I suppose, you know, in terms of being stuck, in that case, it was the fear of judgment, the fear of failure, you know, they're kind of becoming a bit of a reoccurring theme, aren't they, Maz?
Yeah, absolutely. And these are the triggers that have activated fight and flight mechanisms or even freeze mechanisms. It doesn't have to be a big deal on the surface that throws us into a really deep state, a frozen state. And when we're in the frozen state, what can actually stop us from coming out of it is the fear of what might happen. I mean, sometimes, you know, the fear of what people are going to think of me or the fear of how well I'm going to perform, they're kind of the same sort of fear. So sometimes it appears like it's an internal fear of what am I going to do? And other times it appears like it's the external fear of how am I going to be seen or what will people think about me? But both of those states, they can't, if you have got unresolved trauma, and we all do, on many different levels, and those unresolved traumas will be activated by really subtle things that you would never even imagine would push you into a state where, you know, it disables half your brain. It just on the surface doesn't seem like that's a really clever solution. And we've got these brilliant, clever bodies. So, you know, if we trust that the body knows what it's doing, when it gets pushed into a state where we feel stuck or we feel a bit frozen, you think, well, oh my God, all that happened was somebody suggested they put the video on and suddenly I'm in this massive state. But actually underneath that, there's going to be lots of beliefs, lots of decisions, lots of experiences in the past that had sort of created this possibility of death, really is what it is. And the other thing about the freeze response, actually, that's really interesting, is that in order for us to begin to process the unresolved frozen aspects, we kind of have to get over our fear of death. This is something I'm reading about at the moment, and it is absolutely fascinating, because in order for us to go into the frozen felt sense in the body, which is the only way to really heal it, you actually have to allow yourself to be with this idea that the body feels like it's going to die, because that's what happens when you're really deeply in the frozen place. But in order for us to release it, we have to come back in and touch that place. And so there's all of this stuff then. And, you know, because we're human and we've got this idea of death, we know about death consciously, we block it. We block it and we block it and we block it. And undoing those blocks can be a really, really long journey. It's definitely one that you can't do on your own. Because once you go into the state to begin the healing, you need a guide, you need the resources around you to help to guide you through that process as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, that whole thing, isn't it? You know, like I think there is a saying, isn't there? You know, if there was no death, what would you do? You know, if there was no fear of rejection, etc. So Elizabeth, we do know you. You know, this goes to prove that I just don't have a very good memory. You know, when I'm on stage and people are like, "Oh no, it's your memory must be amazing." I'm like, seriously, sometimes I don't even remember my own name. So very nice to see you again, lovely. Elizabeth's just saying here that, you know, through the fear of the unknown, which, you know, also freeze can be rejection to abandonment. So obviously that's a big one, isn't it? Again, you know, if somebody, you know, is going to be judging you and they don't like what you're doing, if they leave you, if they say, "Oh, that's it, I'm not going to have anything to do with you," that kicks off. You know a lot about that feeling, don't you, Maz? That's one of your triggers.
My big triggers, but rejection and isolation, yeah.
Hello, it's Cheryl. Cheryl's joining us with her bambinos up in Huddersfield. And yeah, Elizabeth's absolutely right. You know, some of this isn't even our stuff. Stuff that we heard when we were growing up and we were just taking it on. I thought, oh yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. Let's just have a bit of that.
And they're those beliefs and those vows. You're right, Elizabeth. Often they're not even conscious to us. There's that really lovely story. We've actually got a blog about it, about monkeys put into a cage and treated in a certain way. I won't give the thing away. But basically what happens is eventually the monkeys who've never experienced the problem, They still know that they can't do something because they have a fear and they don't even know what that fear is. So you inherit fear, fear situations from possibilities. So the particular story I'm talking about is going up a ladder to get a banana. You'll have to read the article. It's a really, really enlightening article. And it does make us realise that so many blocks and problems that we've got, we don't even understand them consciously. They're not ours. They're not our experience. We've inherited them from parents, from society, education, religion, all of these things. We inherit so much stuff that until we start to really expand our awareness of ourselves, we've got no chance of ever really getting to the bottom of them and getting to know what they are. So this thing about the awareness, which is a huge part of the work that we do in the Find Your Why Foundation, expanding your awareness is really an absolute necessity for anybody who wants any kind of improvement in their life or just wants to continue having a good life. You have to become aware, and it's a big job, and we love it.
we love it. Interesting enough, Liz, not Elizabeth, Liz is saying that she totally believes that this comes from DNA as well. Well, we know this. We know that this is true because we have a genetic blueprint as part of one of the many tools we have in our toolkit, and that really shows you what you came into the world with in terms of core wounds and core gifts. Liz, absolutely agree with you. It's kind of in your DNA. It's what you brought with you, which can be from previous lives. Liz asking if we've ever done any previous life regression. Have you ever experienced past life? I went to do a past life regression
with you.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
So we did an RTT session together, didn't we, Cheryl? And I have never experienced past life memories of my own. And I have no conscious awareness of any past life stuff of my own. I work with loads of clients who do it, and I know you do as well, Cheryl, don't you? But when we did a session together, Cheryl and I, I wanted to know what RTT was about, so we did a session on me, and I got in this state, in the hypnotic state, you access scenes that are relevant to look at the area, the issue that you're working on right now. And I had these 3 really clear things, places where I was and situations that I was in, not this lifetime. Really quite scary for me because although I work with it with other clients, I'd never had the experience before. And still now I can see the image and the scene that we came to really clearly, but I've got no idea where it was, when it was, who I was in that lifetime. I just know that my essence was there, my awareness was there, because these scenes are really clear.
Yeah, it was really interesting actually, because I didn't know if Marion was just messing about, because obviously a different tool, although in essence they were all very similar. The RTT, it's like a really quick session, so it was really cool for me to sort of give back to Marion in this case. And I thought she's just messing about here, because at one stage I actually thought she was King Harold, getting the arrow in the eye, and I thought she's just making this up. And then I thought, actually, no, she isn't. I can see she's definitely not messing about here. So that was really, really interesting. I did a past life regression. And again, it was before I even knew about hypnosis. So I wasn't quite sure, because nobody had ever explained to me that, during the hypnotic trance, you are completely in control. There's no being out of control. There's no being controlled. Or some people say that when if you go into hypnosis really easily, you can be, what's the word that I'm looking for? It begins with C. Bear with me. It'll come to me in a minute. Because I use the word creative. When you're in hypnosis, you're very creative. It's your creative mind. Whereas some people say when you go into a hypnotic state, you can go into that if you are able to be. I'm looking for the word controlled, and that's not the right word. It will come to me in a minute. And you're totally compos mentis. It's almost like you're having a conversation with your eyes shut. No funny voices or anything have ever occurred in any of the RTT sessions or the hypnosis sessions that I've done. It's just literally like a conversation. But I didn't realize this. And so when these images were coming to me, I was kind of like, I'm not quite sure if this is true or not. But yeah, I was a factory owner, believe it or not. Factory owner. I didn't work in the factory. I just owned the factory. And I had lots of people working for me. Again, I'm the same as you, Maz. I can see the images now as if, they're just playing that. But I was on my own. So I think that my husband and I must have created the factory, and then he died, and I was left to look after it, via the workforce, if you like. But I mean, I have no recollections of that. So it's like, yes, it's like amazing. So I suppose once you have this understanding that if you have been here before, you're kind of guessing that you might be back again. So maybe not losing out on everything. But I've had a fear of dying for years and years and years. I mean, I first learned about dying when I was about 7 years old. We were at my Auntie Reenie's in Fleetwood. And I remember I was in the back bedroom and I just suddenly had this sense of, oh my gosh, one day I'm not going to be here. And it was really suffocating. I pardon the pun, I felt like I was dying, you know what I mean? I was like really totally shocked. And I went downstairs and I remember I was crying. Oh, enjoy here one day. No, I mean, Mum was like, oh, yeah, I know. Or whatever it was she said to me, I can't remember now. And then my auntie said, oh, that's because, you're in the back bedroom. You're in the back bedroom. That's where your grandma was when she was dead. That's where we put her in that room. I bet she's come to see you. Can you imagine at 7 years old? So I think maybe that's why I had this big fear of dying after that. I was like, oh my gosh, don't tell me things like that. Talk about trauma. But anyway, I'm sure it was with all.
Also, part of what happens with this fear of dying is, and it's not my personal experience, but it makes a lot of sense to me. So I accept it as not my experience. But the fact that the fear of death happens and if there have been previous lives, because again, it was just an experience that I had. I've got no proof of it. So, but if you have got these past life experiences, every time you've died, you've gone through that big fear of death. And it's like you get these layers of trauma. So every time you get killed or you die or whatever happens, you go through that fear before the death actually happens. And you remember that fear. That fear stays as part of the essence of who you are as an awareness being. The essence of my awareness, if you like, that has been through all these traumas, has brought all of those layers and layers of death traumas to me here. Because actually for me, it's the opposite. I don't think I have a fear of death. I think there are bits and pieces in there. But actually, I've always, even a very clear memory, a real memory of this life that I do remember, is saying to my brother when I was about 4 or 5, he was talking about being frightened of dying. And I said, well, what are you scared of? You're just going to go back where you came from. And it made perfect sense to me. There was absolutely no reason in worrying about it because it was just going from one place to another. And I've kind of always had that relationship with death through this life. Like I don't really grieve deeply when people die. Kind of doesn't really bother me. And it can feel a bit cold and heartless. The cold heartlessness bothers me more than dying. Because then I might get rejected, you see, because I'm cold and heartless. But really, I don't. It's lovely that I don't have this huge fear of death because I just think I'm going to go back where I came from and then go somewhere else on another little journey. So yeah, it is funny that these layers though, this fear, the understanding I've got is these fears of all your previous deaths. They kind of clock up, and then they all arrive in one package here in this lifetime with you. So that's a big, isn't it?
I just want to make an announcement. There is one spare ticket going at my funeral because, like, if she's not going to be that bothered, I'm quite frankly, she's not having the ticket.
I don't want it. If I have to be bothered, I'm not coming. I'm going to celebrate that I know you. I'm not going to cry because you're dead.
I'm laughing. Liz is here. It's amazing. I've trained many, many, many years ago. So amazing. I have no fear of dying now, which is cool. But the one thing that I was laughing about here was how she put hundreds of times I've been here and I'm still not learning the lessons. Yeah, well, you might be here a few more 100 times if you don't learn, Liz. You've got to learn. And I'm sure you have learned lots of lessons anyway. Yeah, that's what I think, Cheryl. Oh, dear. So anyway, getting back to being stuck. I mean, clearly, if we die, we're not going to be stuck in this body forever or stuck in this world forever. So it will come to a natural end. Well, it won't be natural, actually. Maybe it'll not be unnatural, but it will come to an end in some shape or form. And so if you are stuck, I mean, first of all, I think one of the things that I would encourage people to do is don't be stuck on your own. Because, you know, if you're stuck on your own, you know, I know so many people, and I'm including myself here, you know, before when I didn't have the beauty of, you know, having the community, having Marion around me, you know, I could sit and make an omnibus dead enders version out of anything. you know, speaking to yourself about, you know, how it's shit and how it's this, and blaming everybody else, and all the usual, you know, the usual kind of non-aware moments, if you like, where you just think that life's against you and why does it always happen to you, you know, these kind of questions. And yet when you speak to somebody else, and I'm not talking about somebody who's just going to agree with you on everything, you know, Massie's tough on me, you know, I'm tough on her. We'll say something, then we'll go, is that true? Really? All the time? Everybody? You know, we sort of question each other, because that's really what you need when you're feeling stuck, because you're usually stuck and it's something and bloody nothing that's holding you back. I mean, it may be something that happened to you that, of course, could potentially be really traumatic. But generally, the work we do, I mean, the things that we uncover are like so amazing and so magical, because they're actually not really anything so bad, and yet they've been holding people back, you know, really keeping them stuck. And then once they've got the knowledge, see, knowledge is power. So when you speak to somebody else and get a different perspective on it, they can make it, they're kind of like, really, is that it? And then you're like, well, it's big trauma. And they're like, well, it's not really, because, you know, if you just did this, how would that feel? And they can give a different perspective, give a different viewpoint. And then, of course, you're like, I suppose so. Or in my case, you'll probably go and tie it now because you don't want to listen to the truth. But it will get you out of that state. You know, it'll change your emotional state.
And it's important to do it. It's really important as well to do it in a way that isn't judgmental, but is actually curious. Curious and kind. They're one of my teachers, Margot, she's called, beautiful teacher. She always just says, go gently, be curious and kind. And that can apply. I think that should be, it's the motto of everybody on the planet. Go gently and be curious and kind. Because there are so many times where the fear of judgment is the big problem. So why would you go to anyone for support if you felt that you were going to be judged? You're not going to do it. And I know that's my own experience when I'm feeling out of sorts. But there was a few months at the beginning of this year where I was just feeling really, really lost. But I knew it was okay for me to feel like shit. So even when people were saying, oh, why do you feel like shit? I was like, I don't care. I feel like shit, and I'm acknowledging I feel like shit. And I don't think it's the end of the world, because I've got enough experience now to know that things keep changing all the time. So shit feelings change constantly too. But it's like I wasn't wallowing in feeling shit, because I wasn't like inviting it and holding on to it. But I wasn't denying it either. I wasn't trying to push it away. I wasn't judging it. I was curious about this feeling of feeling shit. I was curious about it. I was kind to it. And it's naturally started to unfold, and it's shifted and it's changed. So, you know, again, really being careful about judgments as well, because often that will make people get stuck again, because we don't want it. We don't want to be judged, do we? Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think you're right, Matt. Well, I don't think, I know you are right. So it's a case of like being aware of it, acknowledging that it does exist, you know, that there is this stuckness. You know, speak to somebody about it. Again, it's got to be somebody that you don't feel is going to judge you, because obviously the rejection comes up. And it's really just, I mean, you know, once you start to notice and become aware, and you can recognise the pattern, does this always happen in X, Y, or Z situation? And then, of course, you can then start to say, okay, well, maybe I need a little bit of work, you know, EFT, kinesiology, RTT, whatever that might be, to help me to understand and appreciate why this keeps happening. Because otherwise you're just walking down the same street, falling down the same hole. You know, there's that lovely poem, isn't there, or a story. Someone said, I want you to write your life story in less than X amount of words, and it was not a lot of words. And it's like, I walk down the street, I fall down a hole, it's not my fault. I spend ages, I can't get out. I walk down the street, I fall down the hole. I realise it's my fault, but it still takes me ages to get out. I walk down the street, I fall down the hole. I realise it's my fault, I get out quickly. I walk down the street, I see the hole, I walk around the hole, and then finally I walk down a different street. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what life's about, isn't it? You know, you don't learn from anything, and I know Liz is saying she hasn't learned from her previous lives, but of course she has. You don't keep walking down the same street. So if you start to recognise if there's a pattern, then it's about finding somebody else to show you down a different street. And I think also that's a really nice point that Liz is making. You know, she's saying she obviously hasn't learned the lesson yet, but she's only talking about one particular lesson. She's judging because what she has learned is going to be loads and loads of lessons. And there's that great saying, isn't there? Be careful what you wish for, because it just might happen. Because if you're looking for something specific and you get all of these other gifts, you're not going to see them because you're so busy focusing on the thing that you think that you want. And you might miss out on, you know, an abundance of absolute magnificence because you're there busy looking for the right shoes or something.
Yeah. So what else can you do if you're stuck then? So, you know, acknowledge it, you know, speak to people that you trust for their opinion. What else is there?
Yeah, so if you're feeling stuck, then I think it's really, again, it's important to clarify what you want, because that's definitely what I did. It didn't help at the time, being really clear what it was I did want, being really clear what it was I didn't want. It didn't actually shift the feeling at the time. And actually this feeling of stuck it's not that familiar to me. It's not something that comes up a lot. I know it, but it's not around a lot. So it didn't shift it, but what it did do was it starts this kind of slow process of reorganizing your thoughts so that, well, yeah, I know that I don't want this and I know that I do want this. So that, I think that can really subtly, sometimes it can create a really big shift and other times it can just it's like a slow burn. It's just going to slowly bring you out of that stuck feeling. But acknowledging it and allowing yourself to really feel it, the felt sense that is in the body is the biggest gift that we have. The body has got so much brilliance as far as information, as far as processing is concerned. So just follow that lead of that wise physical form that we've got. Get into the felt sense of it, because the amount of information, the amount of wisdom and knowledge that comes out of that is incredible and can really help to keep you on track moving towards what you do want. Because I think, would we all agree that if you are moving in the direction of what you do want, that doesn't feel stuck?
Well, you're moving, so you can't be stuck while you're moving.
Or even just focusing on it. I mean, you're right, when you're moving, you're not. But if you just even look at what you do want, does that even feel stuck? Do you know what I mean? Just that idea for me, the idea in my head, there's a different feeling in my body. If I think about, feeling stuck, I mean, I can feel I get heavy, my body gets denser almost. And then if I think there's something that I do want, so I'm going to meet some friends tomorrow. So I'm going to think about, okay, I'm going to meet some friends tomorrow. And suddenly that feeling shifts. My body feels like it's different. So it's just really noticing what the feeling is like and then create an idea of where you do want to go or where you don't want to go, and notice how that changes the feelings in the body as well. Because just that alone, just those subtle shifts in the body, are, to me, they're proof that stuff is moving, changing. So even though you're feeling stuck, if the physical feelings change, if the felt sense changes, then it's not stuck because it's changing, because it's moving.
Yeah, it is. And Liz is saying here the body talks, which of course is a lot of the work that you do as well, Maz, isn't it? And it's about, you can, look, 70% of the world come from a generator energy. And the way to know what you're doing is through a gut response. And so, it's kind of like, maybe you're stuck because it's not the thing you should be doing. So, I mean, just because you're stuck doesn't mean say, oh, you have to become unstuck and keep moving. It's like, like banging your head against a brick wall and you're doing something you don't want to do. So the question is, if you're feeling stuck and you notice where the feelings are in the body, you notice what the thoughts are, you notice what the triggers are. If it's, I got a lovely lady that I'm working with, and she's brilliant, she's super beautiful, she's got like a body to die for, all of these lovely things, and yet she's not very happy. And it's kind of like, well, why is that? So obviously, you look at all the things that she's really grateful for, but actually she hates her job. Well, guess what? Fucking leave it. Resign. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, if there is nothing else that's going on, it's not like it's not a past life problem. It's not childhood, trauma. It's not none of these. It's the fact that she just doesn't like working where she's working. Don't fucking work there anymore. I mean, and I know that that's much easier to say. Oh yeah, but I need money and I need whatever and I need all these things, all these excuses. If you are not enjoying your life, what is the fucking point? I don't mean like start going and ending your life, by the way. You just big caveat there. But do change it. And I know I've been in that position. I didn't hate my life, but I wasn't very happy with it. And I did make a change, eventually. So I understand, but that's why you feel stuck, because you're kind of between the rock and the hard place of, oh, well, I don't really like doing it. It's not really serving me. And to be honest with you, If you work for somebody else, you're not being fair on them either, because now they're giving you money and you're not actually enjoying working there. So you're doing yourself a disservice first, and you're actually getting money under false pretenses. You can't be 100% doing enthusiastic if you don't like it. So get out and let them find the right person for them. Same with a relationship. If you're in a relationship and you are not happy, guess what? Probably 100%, in fact, the other person will be fucking miserable too. Because I've yet to find a relationship where there's a problem where one person's really fucking happy and the other person's really miserable.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've not come across it yet. I'm happy to be proved wrong. So something not right, do something about it. Of course, try to work with each other in a relationship. Don't just start divorcing everybody in 5 seconds. But if you've tried everything and the only thing that's left is that you're feeling stuck because you're miserable, you have to do something about it. That seems pretty fucking obvious to me. Anyway. Let's have a look at our lovely ladies. Elizabeth is saying creating is amazing for shifting. And then Liz is saying that's a good thing. She knows what she doesn't want, so she can look at what she does want. Yeah, we talked about that, didn't we, a couple of days ago? How do you know what you want? Well, you can start by saying, I don't want this, so therefore I must want the opposite. Anything else that we can share? Thank you for sharing, Liz. Would you like to come on every time? You're like really interactive. Love it. We've got the interactive. You're the most interactive member we've had. Cheryl's becoming the most regular. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? You know what I mean? The most supportive. Thank you. Sheshani. To both of our lovely ladies on here. If you are watching the recording, please, add the comments, like, shares, and that would be great. And have you got anything else, Maz, before we leave our lovely? Well,
people are, if you're watching this and you're feeling stuck, tell us, share with us and let us know what is it that, what is stuck for you and what's going on for you. Just give us a little hint, because, sometimes a little insight can go a very, very long way. And we are a very caring, sharing community where we're open. It really isn't about judgment. I mean, we're all human. Occasionally we do throw a few judgments around, but the essence of what we do is non-judgmental. It's about being kind and curious.
It's about being kind and curious, but it's also about being honest.
Yes.
And only for the fact that, we really do want to help people. We're just working at the minute on our vision, because we're starting to really want to attract, people that do, want some help. I mean, we don't have the answers to everything. I mean, we're over 100 years between us, but we haven't had. Well, I don't know. Maybe we've had 3,000 million. I don't know, previous lives. Who knows? But we're now creating a global movement to guide, like 10 million disheartened souls, to go from why to why not, really. And we had lovely Sally join us. I just wanted to share. Hello, Sally. How are you? And she's just put here, I worked really hard on being happy. Finally managed to leave my job, and now I'm doing what I love. Brilliant. Well done. Not that I can be your mother, because I can't be proud of you, but that just sounds like you're really pleased with yourself, which is excellent. Hardest part of life is working through bereavement, of course, but I'm always trying to look for good things, and I also work on being grateful for what you've got. Exactly. Look, I was devastated when I chose to put my dog to sleep the other week. So if you're talking about people, losing people, it's such a big, a big change, isn't it? And of course, with that change, you can feel like you're stuck, because what do you do? Where do you go? This person's been around forever. But again, reach out and just care and share. We created the Live, Love, Laugh Lounge, full of lovely wise women who support each other. And we've also got the Man Cave for the men who like to support each other, but usually in not such a big way, very subtly, but they're very there to help each other out there, and then we get involved as well. So it's all one big happy family, helping people to become, destiny, masters of their own destiny. So, on that note, we hope you have an amazing weekend. We will be back on Monday with another wise question. Maybe we'll do Why Can't I Do Facebook Live? Maybe we could invite everybody to come and do a Facebook Live with us. The world's biggest. Yeah, we could go for a world record.
No, a Facebook Live-a-thon.
As long as it's not a Facebook Live-a-thong. That'd be a whole different picture, wouldn't it? Thank you for joining us, ladies. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Sally. And thank you, Liz. And everybody who is watching the recording, please share your thoughts. And we look forward to seeing you on Monday. In the meantime, remember to live, love, and laugh every day. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.